Well, we're joined now by Memorial Cup champion from 2017, Vancouver Canucks draft pick, Michael DiPietro. Michael, first of all, thanks for taking the time to join us. It's great to see you, and another successful year, your first year in pro in the books.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is kind of a weird circumstance. It's always great to see you, and yeah, it was definitely an eventful year and something that that I'll remember for many reasons. Some good and definitely some not so good. But all in all, it was a good year.
Amherstburg, you're hanging out there. That's your home. What have you been doing during this time of COVID?
Mom and dad have definitely been taking advantage of me being home with some home renovations, that's for sure. For the first, I think, 6 weeks, it's been project after project. And, dad's been stuck at home, so he hasn't been able to go work for construction for a few months. So we redid the laundry room. We did some projects outside. So, yeah, it got a little dirty there for a bit, but now it's just trying to soak in the good weather. For me, just trying to keep busy outside, helping around the house, doing some landscaping, and also trying to, not get fat. Try to, stay in shape and try to get creative in ways, to kind of get better. The rinks here aren't even open, so I can't even skate yet. So just trying to get, like I said, as creative as I possibly can.
Any buddies that you're able to socially distance work out with, or stuff that maybe the Canucks have given you that you're able to do online?
Yeah, the Canucks and Utica have been pushing out workouts that you can do. Everybody's kind of in their own, I guess, unique environment in the sense of not everybody has access to the same equipment, so they kind of alter it. And if you have any questions or if you have access to more equipment, you can always reach out to them and they can moderate or modify the actual workout itself. So I've been able to do that a lot, and I felt like I've been getting good workouts and good training. But being home is actually, this is the longest I think I've been home for an extended period of time, at least in the last 5 years for sure, and not having to going anywhere. So I've been enjoying that, and I think mom and dad enjoyed it for the first month, and then the food bill just kept rising, and I think kind of the it's wore off. Now it's like okay, when are you leaving? So I
Yeah.
think yeah. So for now, it's really nice to be home and spend time with them.
Is dad a good boss, or is he tough?
Um, this is going on public, so yeah, he's a great boss.
If you want
He's
to
a
get
guy
fed,
that.
that's what you better
Oh,
say.
exactly. I know where I get my meals from, so I got to make sure. Can't say too many choice things, but dad's a perfectionist, let's just say, and he can't sit still, to say the least.
Now, you mentioned your parents a couple of times, obviously a key part to your life. And for those of you who are watching and are big fans of yours and the Windsor Spitfires going back to 2017, they'd be very familiar with your story. But there's an entirely new audience that would watch this online and love to get your recollections about 2017. But I think it's really important to start with your story about your family and how you came to be so bonded with the situation that you're in with your dad and your mom.
Yeah, growing up, it was always my dad and I. He's my best friend. I lost my mom at the age of 5 for cancer, and for the next 3 years, it was really just him and I. And he and I made a promise to, if I held up my end of the bargain, he would always allow me to play sports or play hockey. And especially being a single dad, all I had to do was make sure I did good in school. And if I had an A average, I could play sports, and that was our kind of deal. And I held up my end, and he held up his end. And when you're a kid, you really don't appreciate those things, especially being a single dad and trying to. Even when my mom was here, she was sick for I would say most of my life, and for the sense of being a consoling spouse, and then having to turn on the happy face, once you leave the bedroom, where your wife's sick, and then having to put on a happy face, when you have a toddler running around the house. Um, so I guess, as I got older, I really appreciated that. And dad and I were really blessed to meet my stepmom, but I call her my mom. And she had a son as well, and he's 6 years older than myself. And they kind of had their own battle with tragedy. So my stepbrother, my mom was pregnant with him, and his father, and actually my mom's only brother, got killed by a drunk driver. And so he never got to meet his dad. So our family kind of bonded over, tragedy in a way. And we each went through our own loss, but now we look at it in the way of, we're very blessed to have so many extensions of our family that, bring us closer together. And unfortunately, my brother's in Nashville right now, so can't really see him. But, we try to FaceTime as much as I can, and he's busy doing his job out there. So, so it's a unique situation, this whole virus thing. And I guess, but for me, it really puts things in perspective. Hockey is something I love to do, and it's something that I play because it's my passion and my love, but it's much deeper than that. I think it's something that brings my family together, and my brother is the reason I'm a goalie. So that's I think all the things intertwined, and you never know what kind of hand life's going to deal you. So for myself, and from my dad's kind of attitude towards life, that you just like keep going. You can't stop or feel bad for yourself, and you kind of roll whatever life gives you, kind of roll with the punches and make the best of every situation.
I've always been amazed and I've always been impressed by your maturity. And there was a lot thrown at you in your career, the pressure of being with Windsor, such a great franchise. Of course, you get into your draft year, which is also the host Memorial Cup year. I mean, the amount of pressure that you've had to face, but the way in which you've dealt with it has been so impressive to me. And I can't help but think that some of those things, some of those adversities early on in your life helped you maybe grow up a little quicker, mature a little quicker, and get to the level where you're so comfortable, be it in front of media or speaking to people or helping out in the community. Would you say that those kind of adversities really help you grow up maybe a lot quicker than other kids?
Yeah, I think so. I think that plays actually a big part in, how quickly I had to kind of grow up and, help around the house. And, when I say I didn't really have a childhood, yes, I had a childhood, but, I was forced to grow up a lot quicker than, other friends my age. And I guess maybe now, even there's still a gap, the maturity level. Hockey always forces you to kind of grow up a little bit faster in the sense of, when you're 16, you move out of the house, and stuff like that. So for myself, my dad and kind of what he taught me is just make sure you're a good human being. Make sure you embrace every situation. And I'm a big believer in pressure is what you make of it. If you let it consume you, then you won't really be able to perform. You get nervous, and you kind of shut yourself out, and you kind of become an introvert. But if you really embrace the situation, if you really embrace pressure and for what it is, that you have the opportunity to go out and do what you love to do in a game, that it is really a game, and just perform and have fun, then you'll be able to perform to the best of your abilities. So with those habits and those values, I think my dad instilled in me at a young age. I think I can even parallel them to what I do now with hockey.
Yeah, I'm amazed. And I'm so happy that you're able to share that story with everybody once again, because we are going to have a new audience. And I think that's really important background information for people to know about you. We're going to bring it back to more hockey related discussion now, in particular 2017. So you guys are going through the year. You got Warren Reichel, the general manager, who had been there in 09 and 010 with some really great teams. So he knew how to put a Memorial Cup team together. And you guys were kind of going along in that tough Western Conference. And then, of course, you get into the playoffs. So that's where I think this story starts about you guys winning in 2017. You're up 3-1 against the London Knights in round one. What happens to the Windsor Spitfires at that point?
It's a good question. We were up 3-1 against London, and I think, myself included, I think we kind of got too comfortable. We got too complacent, and we allowed ourselves to have the mindset of, okay, if we lose this one, we're still alive, instead of finishing the series out and calling it a day. And I think that's really what was the problem in closing out that series. It wasn't that we weren't good enough. I think it was just our mindset. Myself included. I was a young 17-year-old, second year in the league. It was, everything was going well, and it was just like, okay, just one more game. But unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way, and we faced a lot of heat on it. And I think we had a very good year up to that point, and I think it was the first year that a team with over 90 points didn't have home ice advantage in the Western Conference. So we played in a tough conference, and obviously you had London, Erie, Owen Sound. That was obviously very, very good. and gave us a run for our money. So it was a tough pill to swallow. And the 40 some odd days after were not an easy road, to say the least. Rocky made sure that we knew that we screwed up, but we had another get out of jail free card, and he wasn't going to let that pass up. So we definitely paid for it.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's another place I want to go. Rocky Thompson, he's there as the coach. You got a great staff with, I think Jared Smith was on the staff, Trevor Lutowski on the staff. I mean, you guys had a lot of support. And of course, Warren, who'd been there before. But now you get into a situation like 2012 in Shawinigan. They were ousted in the playoffs early as a host. Same thing happened a year later with Saskatoon. And now that conversation comes up, hey, is this team a worthy host? Should they deserve a chance at winning the cup? So now Rocky Thompson's job is to get you guys ready. I think it was April 4th, if I'm not mistaken, was the date of that last game and the loss to London. And now he comes up with a plan. From that point on April 4th, take us through the steps that the Windsor Spitfires took in order to prepare for the start of the Memorial Cup.
Coach basically came in. He had to calm down. If anybody knows Rocky, he's a very passionate individual, and I think that's why he and I got along so well. I'm pretty passionate and competitive myself. So he came in. I remember we had a closed door meeting, and Warren was in it as well, along with the coaching staff, Jim Bedard, the goalie coach, and they laid out this 4-phase plan. And basically it was every 10 days or every 2 weeks. I don't know exactly the amount of days, but it felt like years. And phase one was not fun. And he told us, he goes, phase one, you're going to hate it. And it was just flat out, he said it. And we did. It was, so at the time I was in high school. So for people who don't know, if you're in junior hockey in the OHL, you usually take 3 classes a semester. So you get to the rink because you practice in the afternoon. You get to the rink around 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I remember us rolling in, the rookies and the second year guys in high school. We rolled in, and we already saw Rocky in his shorts, day one of phase one, at the foot of the ladder. We were laid out in the hallway. He goes, guys, go get changed right now. And Rocky is in better shape than every single one of us on the team. And he ran us through a 40-minute ladder workout before we even stepped foot on the ice. And we had the WSCU, at the WSCU, we have our bowl where we play, and then we had 3 rinks attached to it. And they rented 2 rinks each day. So we'd practice for an hour, hour and a half, and then we wouldn't wait for a flood. We'd literally get off the ice, walk to the next arena. We'd leave the equipment. The equipment staff would take the equipment would take the pucks downstairs, so we wouldn't need them, and we would bag skate for 35 minutes on the next sheet of ice. And that's what we did for 10 days. And then the guys in high school, they'd work out after. So I remember the first day I got home, my legs were so tired. I was at my billet house. I just fell right down the stairs. Like, it was just like they just gave right out. And I looked at my billets, John and Kath, and I go, I'm not sure if I could do this anymore. And and as we progressed, so phase 2 was still intense, but it got more conducive, more stretching, stuff, get ready. And phase 3, we brought in some players to scrimmage with us to kind of get us in game shape. And then phase 4, they marked out as a tournament, and they just let us, okay, it's your time to shine now. It's either put up or shut up. And everybody, we pulled it together for 10 days, and we were able to come on top. But it was definitely well earned, that's for sure.
During those 4 phases, I mean, I can remember when I played college baseball, we used to have winter workouts, and they were brutal. But a lot of guys would bond over that. And you'd be sitting there and you'd be, scumbagging the coach, and you knew you liked the guy and you knew he was doing good for you, but going through it was really difficult. Do you think that some of that helped bond and bring your group closer together?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like you said, Rock and the coaching staff and everybody around the team and around us had our best interest in mind.
Yeah.
But for the group of guys in the room and, young adults, teenagers, and we're all looking around at each other, and we're like, we can barely walk when we come into the arena. And we know if we're going to have to go over it again and again. And throughout these 40 days, we didn't get to go home once. They didn't give us a break. We only had like a day or two in between. So there was no time to really go home. And I wouldn't say it generated like a hatred or anything, but it definitely gave us a motivating factor to kind of channel our energy, be like, okay, we're going to prove you wrong, or at least prove you right for putting us through this stuff. And I think that's with like a lot of my teammates, we kind of bonded behind it and kind of, like you said, came together more for one common goal because of what we're all going through. It's not like one or two of us aren't going through it. We're all going through this one hell of a time, to say the least.
So now, while this is going on, the other teams that are about to meet you in the cup are all participating and going through their playoffs. Are you guys just too tired to even worry about what the other teams are looking like? Are you paying attention to what's going on in the other two leagues about who might end up in Windsor to play you guys in the tournament?
I think we were more focused on who was going to win our league.
Okay.
It was actually going to be interesting because at that time, Mississauga had a really good team in the East, and they were kind of, running through teams. But I think nobody really knew who was going to come out of the West. And I think for us, I remember we were just constantly watching video on all these different teams, just trying to prepare us for whoever, we got. And once the WHL kind of figured itself out in the QMJHL, obviously we don't play each other. So I remember us watching a lot of video once they kind of settled itself out. But I think for us it was more important to figure out who's going to win our league, and then you just kind of deal with who's going to come from the other leagues. At least it happened for us in that way, and we followed it closely. We have a board, and whoever's been in the Windsor locker room, they have a playoff board with every team's like magnet, and they kept doing it and until they reached the final. So we definitely kept tabs on every team, even though for me, I don't really pay attention to personal stats, any other team stats or whatever, but my other teammates did for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty neat because the tournament has such great intrigue because, you're going to get two opponents there that just, you know nothing about. I mean, you can watch them on video, but until you get on the ice, it's an entirely different dynamic. So I'm always fascinated by the first couple of games, because you have that unknown. And we as broadcasters, we go around, we kind of see all three leagues. And, I remember doing a couple of games in the Seattle series and saying, man, it was a tough fought series against Regina, Matt Barzal, Ethan Bear. They got the young Carl Stankowski in goal. They're doing a great job. And then I look at St. John, and they had a powerhouse, a really balanced group. And there was a lot of good things going on there. And then, of course, Erie with the firepower. And so everyone shows up. The tournament starts. You have to go through the opening ceremonies. How then do you kind of get refocused, or what is it that you're thinking? Are you able to sleep the night before? Are you just feeling so prepared? Or are you just feeling so much like, hey, man, finally it's here. We don't have to work out anymore. What's the mindset of your group going into that opening game against St. John?
I think everybody was nervous to a point. Jeremy Bracco claims to never be nervous before a game, but I think he was even nervous before our first game because nobody's played in over 40 days. And, we don't know how we're going to perform. There's difference between being in practice shape and being in game shape. Not necessarily on the actual physical part, but the emotional and the mental side of the game, especially in my position. And, if you let in an early goal and stuff like that, you automatically fall behind the eight ball. So I think for a lot of guys, it was like the unknown made us nervous. But I think Rocky and the rest of the coaching staff really did a good job. Because we opened up the tournament playing St. John and then Seattle, so we didn't even play the OHL team yet, which was Erie at the time, and we just focused on our game plan, what we had to do, our system. But then coach would just highlight a couple players and then do a few tendencies for the team, but then just go out there and play. And we did our homework on every team, don't get me wrong, but it's not like our coaching staff flooded us with information to the point where you're almost intimidated by the other team and not really confident in yourself. So I think we did a good job in balancing that out, but there's obviously nerves. There's going to be nerves in any game you go into, especially when you've been off for 44 days or whatever it was.
Jimmy Bedard has a long history of being a really good National Hockey League goalie coach. You guys were blessed to have him after his time with Detroit. How much did you lean on him in terms of your preparation? And was it more from the mental side, or were you guys still working on some things in terms of technique to get you ready with such a long layoff?
Yeah, I think, like you said, Jimmy had a phenomenal career with Detroit and obviously a very successful one. And, for him to come to Windsor and help me out in my career and especially being so young, and it meant a lot to me. And I think the reason why Jimmy is or is so successful and was so successful is because he approaches each day the same way. You get in, you work, and then you leave. Like you put in the work, you make sure you do what you need to do, but then once you leave the rink, you check out. You can't let it consume you, and because people don't really have that off switch. If you don't have an off switch once you leave the arena, then you really, you can't give yourself a mental break that you need. And then you just get run down and run down. And I think in those days where we were preparing for the tournament, it really came in handy because, Jim's anybody who met Jim, he always has a smile on his face. He always has a joke to tell, or definitely he always has a crazy story to tell. And that always brought me some lightness to the day. And especially as the tournament was inching closer and closer, his demeanor didn't change. The way he approached each day didn't change. So it kind of gave me the confidence and the mindset of, okay, I don't have to change anything. All I have to do is just do exactly what I'm doing and, just trust the work I'm putting in. And I think throughout the year and throughout a course of a hockey season, as a goalie, you can add a few little things to your game, but it's not like you're working on major parts of your game. It's more of a refining aspect. And I think Jim did a really good job of just making sure I was warm for practice, adding a few tidbits here and there, but letting me just do my thing and play, especially as we got closer to the tournament.
One thing that this Windsor team was known for in that tournament was the ability to get off to really good starts. I mean, how much of a focus was that for your group, and how much easier did it make it? Because I think in every one of those games, you guys scored first.
Yeah, I think anytime you can start a game with a lead, whether it be a minute in or midway through the second period, if you can score the first goal, it's a very good boost for your team. Obviously, it's a good morale boost for the guys on the bench, and obviously for the guys on the ice who created the offense. But also, like from my perspective, it kind of you take a breath. It's not like because every time you let in a goal as a goalie, it's like you let your team down, and it kind of eats at you. And especially me, if it's something that I could have done differently, then it definitely eats at me and gets going. So our starts in that tournament couldn't have gone better. And we had a few bounces here and there with some good luck, and the hockey gods were kind of on our side a few times. But I think it was just through the hard work we put in. We earned everything we kind of got in that tournament, and there are phenomenal players in that tournament like Shabbat, Strome, DeBrincat, Sorelli, Barzell. And those are players that, you're playing against. And for me, it was something that it kind of gave me some breathing room in a way, that knowing that, my teammates had my back and I had theirs.
So you get off to that win 3-2 in the first game against St. John. At that point, what's it like coming back into the room, and what's Rocky saying to you guys? And are you feeling confident now that hey, maybe we can get this thing done?
Yeah, I think we were a lot more confident when it was 3-0, and then a little heart attack at the end of the
Yeah, oh
third
yeah, it was
period,
tight at the end. Yeah.
and the puck off the post here and there. But everybody was super excited when he came in because, like I said, leading up to that game, we didn't know what to expect. I don't think Thomas left the ice the whole game, and it was just something that every time I looked up, I saw his stupid grin. So it was something that I'll always remember. And I remember Rocky walking in, and Warren was so excited, and we were celebrating. Everyone saw Warren sweat stains and everything, hugging Evan in the booth. But he's a very passionate guy too. But all Rocky said was one down, and he came and shook our hands around the room, and he was happy. But we knew we had more business to take care of. And that was kind of his mindset. So we said, enjoy this, but everybody make sure you're in the gym doing the right things and get ready because we're practicing tomorrow. And that was kind of his mindset.
So the next game, things get off to a wild start once again. I think you guys ended up tying a record with 3 goals in 38 seconds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was like one right after the other.
And so
against Seattle.
And you win that game 7-1. And Seattle had traveled a long way. They had a tough series with Regina, but they did have some star power. So now you're 2-0. Again, what are you thinking throughout maybe the course of the game and as it ends? And now you're looking at a 2-0 record.
Yeah, I think that game was a lot closer than what the score kind of indicated.
Hmm.
And there's moments in the game I still remember Chatty diving across the crease on a 5-on-3 and
Yeah.
just saving it with the chest. And we were still talking about it this year in the room, and all of our American friends on our team this year in Utica always gave us a hard time because it's like all we talk about is the Memorial Cup and our time in Windsor together. So we kind of they kind of try to grind our gears, but it doesn't really work. But after we won the 7-1 against Seattle, obviously our focus shifted to Erie, and I think that entire season we didn't beat Erie once. We might have got 1 point off of them in a shootout or overtime in Erie one game, but we didn't beat Erie once. And I think for me personally, that was something that I felt like I wanted to do, I needed to do. And as a group, it was just like, okay, we got to do it. And it was after we won against Seattle, Rocky came in and said 2 down, but the next one's not going to be like that. I promise you. And I think that's what kind of brought us back down to reality and kind of humbled us a bit in a way, because we knew we were going to get them. We were going to get their best, and we had to make sure that we were going to give our best and see what was going to happen, because we knew it was going to be a heated rivalry in Windsor. Obviously, being the host, it was going to be a nail biter, and nobody was going to give an inch. And I think everybody was looking forward to kind of proving ourselves that we could do this thing.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting to watch because you take that lead in the first game 3-0, and then it gets frantic at the end. You save maybe a post or two in that game, but you hang on and win 3-2. 7-1 game, you get the 3 goals early, you're able to feel confident. And now you get into the game against Erie. There's Fogle, there's Sorelli, there's Strome, there's DeBrincat. I mean, just a whole host of really good players and a really deep team scoring from the back end. And this is where the tournament shifts into Mikey's favor, Mikey DiPietro. So good in that game. What did you feel going into that? Did you feel that, hey, you know what, we've done a good job so far, and now it's my time to kind of step up to the plate here? Or did you just feel like this is the same group that we've been playing with here to get us to 2-0? Let's just keep it going. How did it work out? Because that was a game that I remember in particular that you really started to rock and roll.
Thank you. But I would say more of like the second point you were making. When I enter a game, it's not like I feel the need to play more, or
Okay.
I don't want to force myself. All I have to do is just do what I do. And some games, you're going to get more shots, or some games you're going to see more action, or you're going to be forced to make a big save. And some people may look at it and say that, wow, he's really stepped up his game. But at the same time, it's just you really have to play your game within yourself. It's what I call like the game within the game, and making sure that when I'm tested, I'm ready, and making sure I'm sharp. And heading into that game, like I said earlier, we haven't beaten Erie, and with all that firepower they had and everything, I was nervous, to be honest with you. I was probably the most nervous I've been all season, and not for the fact of it was going to be a packed house or, just the tournament itself. It was more nerve-wracking just playing against those players,
Yeah.
because, when you obviously had a phenomenal decor in front of me playing, but it was like we banded together and we had to shut them down. We had to kill their will because they were on a roll. They were on a tear. And, on paper, everybody really kind of written us off, being off so many days, and the way Erie's been playing, their firepower, how many goals DeBrincat's had, Strome and DeBrincat's chemistry, everything like that. And everybody just kind of written us off. So I think we really embodied what Windsor really was, like a hardworking blue collar city, Windsor, Essex, and we kind of banded together and wanted to put out a good game. And it was a tough one. It was a game within the game, like I said, a battle, and it was a fun one to be a part of.
Was it nasty out there? Was there a lot of talking? Was there a lot of, hey, you guys don't deserve to be here? Is that kind of stuff going on?
I think there was a little bit. For me, I don't like chirping because I feel like it's just gonna come bite me in the ass. Like it's gonna be
Yeah.
like I'm gonna chirp this one player and he's gonna come in next shift and just rip on me, and then it's gonna be like, Mike, you just gotta shut your mouth.
Yeah.
So for me, I just like to keep to my business, but they try to get under my skin, and obviously my teammates try to get under theirs. But yeah, it was definitely no love lost there, that's for sure. We weren't gonna go out and hang out and go for dinner after the game, to say the least, with that one.
Well, 4-2 win, that puts you guys into the final now. You go 3-0 in the round robin. You beat everybody. And you had to, at least we in the booth had the sense that this was probably going to be an all OHL final. I think as the tournament started to go on, you realized that Erie was probably the favorite. And then the way you guys were able to start and play and go 3-0, that you guys emerged as the next best team. And of course, that ends up being the matchup in the final. What's the messaging before the game from Rocky, from Warren, the coaching staff, to prepare you guys to get ready for that final game against Erie in a rematch?
Yeah, I think, like you said, as the tournament went on, we kind of figured that, it was going to be an all OHL final too, because winning 3 games, we obviously got the bye. And with the way Erie's been playing and everything like that leading up to it. So I think we just kind of approached it because we have a longer layoff. I believe it was 3-4 days or something that in between. And, we just kind of went for the first couple of days, just, okay, go practice and then relax at home. Just kind of do your thing and whatever you need to do. Hang out with the guys, play some ping pong, just kind of keep it loose, try not to think about what's kind of at stake. And once it kind of got closer to the finals and we kind of knew we were playing, things started getting more serious. Rocky's message to us was, now we're going to get their best. We did it once. Now great teams we got to do it again. And we knew they were going to come out with more. We knew they were going to throw everything they had at us, and it was going to be back and forth kind of game. Yeah, but I think heading into the finals, I think that was everybody's least nervous game heading into, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I think we kind of had the mindset, okay, we slayed the dragon. We finally beat Erie. Like, they're actually beatable. And for us, that gave us a lot of personal confidence of, okay, like, yeah, we got this. In 60 minutes, we could be champions. And I think for us in the mindset, that really gave us the confidence to, step on that ice and kind of own the moment. And, we got exactly what Rocky and the coaching staff said, and Trevor and Jared. They threw everything they could at us. It was back and forth. For the first time ever in the Memorial Cup, we were not leading a game, and we got to come back and from behind. And I remember when Luch scored that goal in the third from Brax. That was like the longest 13 minutes of my life of just trying to get to, come on, like, when is this game gonna end, kind of thing. And it was just, it was a game where we were confident, but it was also a game of a lot of, like, it was an emotional roller coaster. It was very hard to keep an even keel.
Spoke to Jacob DeSerres, who was the champion goaltender for the St. John Sea Dogs going back to 2011. And he was an amazing story because in 2010, he played in Brandon. He got beat 9-1 in that game, and he was in for all 9 goals. He gets waived through the Western Hockey League the next year. He ends up in St. John and becomes a champion. And so at that point, I'm asking him, redemption, what are you thinking about? What's the game bringing to you? And the one thing that he said is that what was really important for him was staying in the moment. And now you have those 13 minutes to play with after Aaron Luchuk had scored the go-ahead goal to make it 4-3 about 5 minutes into the third period. Is staying in the moment something that you're constantly mindful of? And how is it that you were able to get through those 13 minutes? Because you were a busy guy at that time. You guys didn't have a ton of shots on goal, and Erie was giving it to you pretty good.
Yeah, I think, what Jacob said, that's probably the best advice a goalie could give to another goalie, is just being able to stay in the moment. And the goalie coach in Utica and Curtis Sanford, he always, preaches that. And he gives me, like, we would talk about, okay, how do you break the game up? Because if you approach a game of 60 minutes, you got to be perfect. It can get kind of intimidating for a full hour, and you're on your own island. So what he used to do was break the game up into 5-minute segments. And, that's something that we even talked about after I got drafted. And when I was in Windsor at this point in the finals, like, I wasn't drafted yet. So I remember saying to myself, subconsciously just make it to the TV timeout or make it to a TV timeout. And that was because, Sportsnet, you get 3 TV timeouts a period and not just one like normally in the OHL. So if I can make it to the TV timeout, it allows me to reset at the bench. And at the time, I had a phenomenal goalie partner, Mario Kalina, and he and I were best friends. And on a side note, I told him if we win, because he looks over during phase 1. It was like midway through phase 1, and he looks over and he goes, "I swear to God, if I'm doing all this work and we don't win this thing, I'm going to lose my mind."
And he's going to kill you. He's coming after you.
Yeah, he goes, "I'm going to kill you." And I go, "Cully, if we win, you can push me in the shower with my gear on." He goes, "Okay, I'm holding you to it." So when I finally made the decision to break it up to the TV timeouts, Cully, the first thing he said to me was, "Almost shower time." and and we just kind of, and every time I go to the bench, I would tell him and Cameron Bagley, who was our assistant equipment manager at the time, just tell me something funny or get my mind off of something. And they knew to do that. I wouldn't respond to them. I'm very quiet when I play, but I appreciated everything they did because it allowed me, even though I wasn't really responding or having a conversation with them, it allowed me just kind of, for that brief moment, to focus my energy somewhere else and not to think about it. So after that goal that Lucha, it was the longest 13 minutes of my life, but I was very thankful and grateful for everybody that helped me through those 13 minutes.
Oh man, tell me a little bit about the celebration. The final buzzer goes off. What comes to your mind? Who are you thinking about?
Just wow. I think I just start screaming. I think everybody, I don't think it truly really set in at the moment. I think everybody's so excited we beat Erie again. And then, once the Memorial Cup comes out and everybody kind of pours on the ice and you really get to truly celebrate it, then it really sinks in. I remember after winning, I just sit in my stall and I'm still in my full gear and everybody's celebrating around me. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, wow, like we actually did it. And then all of a sudden, here comes Mario with the Gitch bin. He goes, "Okay, get in. We're going to the shower." Like, oh my goodness. And then we really got to enjoy it after. But it was the celebration part of it made all the phases and all the stuff and worth it in the end. And even talking about it now, it brings up so many funny memories and great memories. Not even throughout the tournament, but even leading up to the tournament and that whole draft year and all the kind of hills and the low points and the high points you go through in an NHL draft year or any draft year. It really allows me to kind of like reminisce on it because I haven't really thought about it in a while.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. It's great to go back, and a lot of players who get the opportunity A, to play in it, but B, to win it, are bonded for life. And again, I'll refer back to Jacob DeSeres. He hadn't talked to or really seen anyone from that St. John team in such a long time, and I was able to connect him with Mike Thomas, who was the captain of that team, but also now the president of the St. John alumni, and he was really looking forward with connecting with some of those guys. But I do want to touch a little bit on a couple of the teammates you had. I think about that group, and it was a diverse group. It was a group with a whole ton of personality and a lot of different personalities. And so when I look at managing that group from a coach's perspective, you think about Sergachev and how easygoing he was. You think about, a guy like Bracco's a little bit of the class clown. You think about Jeremiah Addison, who was a really kind of seemed like a super serious guy. And then you've got Logan Brown and you've got Sean Day. I mean, you got some big personalities in the room. How important was it for Rocky and for the group for Rocky to manage the group of all those different personalities and keep everyone on the same page? And maybe from your perspective as a goaltender, how much did you appreciate the ability to keep it all together for those 40 days off and then the 10 or so days over the tournament?
Yeah, I think when you're, when you have so many different personalities in the room and they're very strong personalities, and I love every single one of them. And because they're very unique, like Sergey's so passionate in everything he does. And he's very competitive in a way that sometimes he'll get in your face and stuff like that. But he does it in a loving way, like because he wants you to get better. And then you have Brownie, who's kind of laid back and relaxing. And, the way Rocky really pulled everybody's personalities together and kind of, into one kind of bottleneck effect, so that we're all really kind of pulling the same rope and doing it for the right reasons, in the sense of, okay, this is our goal and this is what we have in front of us. Now, how do we get there? And then he basically tell us, this is how we're going to get there. Whether we like it or not, this is the recipe that we need to do. And I think with those strong personalities, and everybody in our room actually had a strong personality in their own way. And I think after losing to London, it kind of woke us up in the sense of, okay, guys, we get a get out of jail free card here. Now, are we gonna kind of throw it away, or are we gonna kind of embrace it and really appreciate what we actually have? And I think we put everything else aside and we just focused on our team and the group of guys in our room. And with Coach's plan, that, trust me, he put a lot of time and effort with Joey Garland, our strength coach, and an athletic therapist, and Warren. Anybody who knows Warren's very passionate individual and everything like that. And everybody put in their 2 cents to make this a successful recipe. And I think we all appreciated that. In the end, it all was worth it. But I think throughout the process, it was definitely not everybody was so easygoing, but we did it. And we did it because we had to, but we did it because we wanted to for each other.
Other than Chatfield, who you spent a lot of time with in Utica this year, another Vancouver Canucks prospect, who else do you still remain tight with from that group?
I think, like you said, like when you play in a tournament like that and when you win a championship like that, even if you don't talk to those people on a daily basis, you still have that bond with them. So it's like you just pick up where you left off. This year I got to see Brownie a lot because he was in Belleville, and I saw him at the airport when I was flying home for Christmas time, and I just kind of looked back, and Brownie's 6'6", so it's easy to point him on a nice beige pea coat. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's definitely Logan. So I just texted him, and we just kind of we hung out for a little bit, and right before we had to fly, and just kind of kind of catch up with each other. When I was in Toronto this year against the Marlies, playing against Luchuk and Bracco, Brax tries to shoot a puck at me in warm up because he knows how serious I am. And same thing with Luch. He's trying to talk to me, but he knows I don't talk to anyone on the ice when I'm there. And they just got things like that where, teammates, they know, like we know their kind of quirks and tendencies, especially in junior hockey, because you're not getting really paid to do it. It's what you love to do. When you turn to pro, it's your job and it's what your mindset is. But when you're in junior hockey, you're playing, for fun. You're playing with your buddies. You're developing all these, unique bonds and friendships that you're going to remember for the rest of your life, and stories that you're going to always remember. And so I think whenever I see those people, you always reminisce and you pick up right where you left off. So if I see anyone from that team, it's going to be nothing but picking up where you left off.
Awesome. The ring, where is it? Do you ever wear it? And do you ever just check it out once in a while?
The ring.
Yeah.
So I had the ring in my room for a while, and then I remember I got traded to Ottawa, and my dad goes up in my room. He goes, "Why do you have this thing in your room?" And he got so mad. He goes, "I'm putting this thing in the bank." So it's literally put away in the safety deposit box there. And, it's a little gaudy for me. It's a little too big for my hand. It's I'm more humble and to myself, stuff like that. But, from time to time, I'll take a look at it. I love it. It's very unique in what's on it and kind of how they laid the ring out itself. And I love the diamonds on it and the color scheme. So I don't think I could ever pull it off with anything, but it's always nice to have.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, that's such a great keepsake. And, obviously they did such a good job of putting it all together. And they've had some experience going back to 09 and 10 to make sure that the ring was definitely worthwhile. But the All-Star goalie, the MVP goaltender, or named the best goaltender of the 2017 Memorial Cup, Michael DiPietro. Thanks so much for being so generous with your time. It's always great to see you and always great to get your thoughts on on that amazing run in 2017.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's Michael DiPietro, the Windsor Spitfires 2017 Memorial Cup champs.